Hello, in today's tutorial we'll be taking a look over the dispatch method within Receta. Here we'll be looking at how we actually dispatch items that have been produced using your regular production methods, what the implications are of a dispatch for the information your customer receives, and also extra tasks that you can perform with the dispatch. If we take it as read that you already understand how to add quotations, sales orders and productions into Receta, and you've viewed these in some of the other help files, this will be one of the last steps that you'll perform in Receta to do the actual dispatch and therefore get the order to your customer as quickly as possible and they would receive their items. Let's get started. If we go to Dispatches and Add, here you would see a list of all of the items which have been made as part of a sales order which now have a stock level, and also that particular stock line in the sales order has a status of CPROD produced. If you're not sure what any of those mean, please look at one of the sales order videos for more information. However, in this case we can see that we have a sales order with an ID of 4. It's going to this particular customer. I'll get to this warning in a minute. This particular item which was ordered as part of this sales order was for a demo product that we have. We can see the customer originally ordered 50. We've produced 1,000. Obviously in most cases you may well be only producing enough to cover this order. There are still 50 outstanding, which is how many we still need to send, and therefore this is the total that we've currently got to dispatch today. If we wanted to make a note, view any of the notes which have been placed against the sales order or as the customer as a whole, we can click these buttons directly and see them. There could be some information within this sales order that other staff members have left with an eye to how the item should be dispatched, for example. One of the other things is that we can add a warning note to a particular sales order line if we have any information which needs to be performed before the dispatch takes place. In this case, we've made the dispatch staff aware that it shouldn't be physically dispatched until the invoice is created and listed as being paid by the client. If we decide that we do actually want to go ahead and dispatch, we would simply add here the total that we were dispatching from this particular batch that we have available. If we produced several batches, or we had several batches available, we could choose which batches we wanted to use for allocation purposes. It may be you wanted to use the older particular set of batch availability, or you wanted to use a group of batches. However, in this case we only have one batch, so we'd want to add all 50. As you can see I've just done. You can see that automatically this adds 50 to here as well. So it said overall we are dispatching 50 and 50 from this particular batch. We would then select the dispatch date. Obviously in most cases it would be today. We would then select the shipping costs that we wanted to apply. This shows you all of the shipping costs currently stored by default in Receta. You can of course add your own set of shipping rates to Receta using the admin area, and these would be applied. If the customer or the customer contact had a default shipping preference stored against them, this would automatically be selected here. If we're adding a manual price to the shipping, you would type it in here. When you're finished, you'd click Save to System. At this point, two things are created, one of which is the dispatch notification, which I'll get to in a short while, and the invoice is automatically created at the same time. The invoice would be for the amount here which was being dispatched based upon the price that was stored for these items in that particular sales order. Any pro formas which had been paid up front against this sales order would be taken into account by the invoice that was generated. Even if there is a zero balance on the invoice, because let's say for example the pro forma was 100% payment up front, therefore this invoice was already being paid in effect, a zero rated invoice would still be raised and still emailed to your customer for their records. If we imagine that we've actually clicked Save to System, what we would find, I'm just going to go to one that was already being created, was we'd end up on this particular page. So here it would say, in this case it's blank, but here it would say what had been dispatched. It would show us the weight, and we can perform some additional actions. We can print a dispatch notice if we wanted to include that in the packaging. We can print an unbranded dispatch notice if you are shipping on behalf of a different customer direct to a fulfillment center, for example, that may come in handy. Or we can choose to email the dispatch notice to our customer. Although the invoice is automatically emailed to your customer on creation, the dispatch notice isn't. We found in practice that in some cases most customers would prefer to have the invoice automatically, but a dispatch note was okay to be included in the packaging, so we'll give you that option if you see fit. If we hadn't already made Receta aware that we created a courier consignment for this item, i.e. the tracking code provided by the courier, this button would not be great. We could click, go through and set up the courier consignment. On that page you'll be given the option of either manually typing in the courier consignment number if that had been provided to you through some other courier software, or if you've integrated any of the couriers within Receta, UPS, TNT for example, you can create the parcel on the fly and it would add the courier information here. At the same time, as I suggested, an invoice would be created. If we quickly go into that invoice, we can see here information about the invoice. We can see what happened. In this case, these all happened automatically when I did the dispatch. The invoice was created and then it was emailed to the customer. We can see here in this case that there was a balance already pro forma paid, so the grand total in this case was the same amount again, so the pro forma was in this case 50%. If we wished, we can then elect to email this to a particular an interior contact within the customer, for example, an additional person over and above this particular contact. We can print it, we can go straight through to the associated sales order, the CPROD, etc. That completes this video showing you how to do a dispatch, an invoice and courier consignment. I hope you've enjoyed it.